That's great. I love that. And you hit on something that I think is so critical, right? Because, one of the things we talk about is that human element, the people aspect, right? And you said that multiple times through this. So listen, I think we should just talk about that for a second because I'm a firm believer that, we have these tools and we have these templates, but unless you're understanding how they impact people, a lot of times they won't be successful, right? So that people element, I agree with you. That aspect is so important. So what is the value of it and that people aspect associated to it?
Well, really, it's that collaboration, that engagement, and that coordination with people, with the things that you're doing. Like I
Okay,
said, this can be outside of ITSM, but focusing on ITSM, if we think about technology projects and stuff like that,
that's
we
right.
really want that engagement. So what do, Tony?
Yeah.
We follow best practice. That's best practices in industry. And like you said earlier, when we start, you said you hear people talking about when they engage people, how successful their projects are,
That's
but they
right.
may not be following best practices related to OCM.
Got it.
Or they may not have good intellectual property from a supplier, somebody who's an expert in it, to really help guide them so they can make it a part of their overall culture at the end of the day. That's
Okay.
why, no, in the blog I wrote, I talk about organizational change management, culture change, because
Right.
it actually affects culture change too. I may have went off your question a little bit, but I just wanted to add that also there. So there's some key aspects, when you're thinking about adopting an OCM approach.
Right.
First thing, you got to know what the business wants to do.
Right.
And one of the things I talk about, I said that's a model that's been around since ITIL version 2 called vision to measurements. So you
Yeah.
go from vision to mission to goals to objectives to
Right.
critical success factors to KPIs to metrics to measurements, and you align all that up versus just jumping into a project with an objective without understanding why you're doing it.
Right.
Now that you sort of understand that and you start thinking, oh, this is why we're doing it. This is how it's going to affect the business and our customers. Matter of fact, not just customer experience, but employee experience and so forth. Now let's connect the pieces. Let's make sure the project or the objectives that we're going to put in place actually come to fruition based on what we're trying to do.
Right.
How do we do that? Which may be your next question. So I'll stop again.
You're so wonderful. Well, actually, I was going to say, so there's specific roles then, it sounds like when you're in this. What are some titles of those roles just to give the audience, hey, oh, I see that. I see that.
Well, there's some really uh, key roles.
Okay.
First of all, one of the things that we talk about within all projects, we have to have executive sponsorship.
Okay.
Executives have to be involved in this because the organization is changing.
That's
We're
right.
doing something different, so we need their support. What does that mean at the end of the day? What that means is that we need money, budget, and these perspectives that come into, actually making this a good initiative within the overall project plan. The
Right.
next thing we need somebody in the organization to be the OCM leader or
Okay.
sponsor,
Okay.
besides the executives. So we need an OCM leader or sponsor. And
Right.
then the OCM leader or sponsor, they need support. So we call these
Yeah.
change agents. So they have an extension of themselves with people out in the field that's actually advocating for the change that we actually train them to. So they know how to do this. So they know how to combat resistance and communicate the change and everything else. So that we're creating this overall teamwork and this collaboration and this coordinated effort with this leader that's sort reporting to the executive sponsor, and then those other entities, those other people within the organization. And the other role is everybody else in the organization that's affected by the change. They have to give feedback. So I don't know if you ever heard of a practice called TQM, Total Quality
I
Management,
actually,
which
yes, I remember that.
which a lot of people did really managers didn't like it because they thought the individual contributors were taking over.
Right.
TQM is sort of a part of OCM. So you get the feedback from people and you sort of working as a team and people have different perspectives and everything else. So for the good of the organization, if somebody's resistant, I mean, more than likely they're not going to adopt that change. So
That's
you
right.
want to combat that, but resistance can be a good thing because of what TQM told us a long time ago.
Right.
This person who's actually doing the job has some insights that you probably want to listen to. And if you listen to those insights, maybe you get an aha moment and say, oh man, we're doing something wrong. Matter of fact, we need to enable people different. We need to do the process different or the technology different. Because
Right.
see, now OCM starts connecting with these other pieces of the overall solution, the process, the technology, the governance, and
Right.
everything else, and overall experience and what we want to deliver to our customers. And then the value of this, again, using the vision and measurement model to the mission and vision of the organization at the end of the day, what we're trying to do. So
Right.
maybe that person, and if that person is off base, now we have a chance to correct them and
That's right.
make them have an aha moment, make them more engaged and feel a bigger part of the team. Because when you
Right.
feel like that and you don't become just compliant, and this is what I talk about too, you become compassionate. So we want all
Oh,
this whole value chain of people working together to not just be compliant, say, yeah, we're doing this, but they want to be compassionate for organizational success at the end of the day.
mhm.
Now, that's one other role,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, which is the vendor role or
Right.
supplier role. Like when I come in as the OCM expert to guide you through the offerings and stuff that we'll talk about later and so
Okay.
forth. So to make sure you're successful. Yeah, and the reason why that's important, Tony, is because just like you said, some organizations talk about it and they sort of mention it, but they're really not doing it. So there's really a stage of maturity in the organizations related to organizational change management. You could say there's an absence of the ability to change. They look at their previous projects and say, man, well, what happened? Well, the people ended up, oh, well, there's an absence of change, the lowest level of maturity.
Right.
Or they have change management in sort of isolated efforts, different parts of the company. And
Yeah.
so there's some success over here in this, but really at the end of the day, the company itself is a team,
Yeah. That's
the
right.
whole company is a team. And then they have many change management efforts, but they're inconsistent. Then
Right.
they finally get to maybe even have what we call a change management office, that can
Right.
work with a service management office or a project management office to make sure these things come into play. So
Yeah.
they're really taking it serious. And then that executive has put a significant investment in managing change and the human aspects of what's going on within that organization because he wants good experiences. He wants, self-actualization from a Maslow perspective. He wants people to be
Right.
happy. He wants this reputation in the industry. This is one of the best companies to work for, and
Right.
we just love doing stuff for our customers.
Right.
That's an outcome of effective OCM.
That's wonderful. And
Okay, so
now,
that's the
oh,
roles.
yeah,
That's the roles. I'm
that's the
sorry,
role.
Tiggs.
No, hey, you're killing it. I love it. Listen, that is the reason why I say that is, and I ask those questions because based on what you said at the very beginning, you've just shared how this actually becomes a culture, right? The whole thing becomes a culture where just to be the easiest analogy, everybody's rowing in the same direction, right?
Hmm.
Everybody's bought into the plan. And here's a key thing based on what you're saying. Everybody knows the plan, right? They've been able to contribute to the plan. So that type of environment then actually does build a culture where, everybody is really being helpful to each other. Now, you do seem like the OCM expert. Now, I'm saying that to the audience, but just so you know, audience, I already knew this, which is why I really wanted Anthony to be here with us today. Um, so, since you are the expert, I'm going to guess that you have workshops and tools that you use to help others as an expert. Can you share about the workshops and things that you do?
Yeah, what we do really at the end of the day, we start engagements with really understanding that maturity level of the customer. Because
Okay.
sometimes, for example, I may have a customer that they never did it before, but they sort of bought the OCM solution from us. Then
Right.
they come and go, "Why are we doing this? I don't see no value in this." So
Right. Right.
I have to really at the beginning tell them what the team should look like and what the support mechanism should look like and what we're gonna do within the first uh, interaction that we have with them, which is a workshop. So we give them a workshop, we go over best practices, we talk about their previous projects and stuff. So we really make it really customized at the end of the day for them, but it's driven by key intellectual property that we've created to do this. That's just makes it a best practice, for organizations. And we actually give the organizations, the data. So if they want, after they disengage with us, which is probably going to happen as they start changing and the culture changes,
Right.
they can say, look, we have best practices, or if they want to go further and get certifications, they can do that and really start trying to create their organizational change management office at the end of the day.
That
The
makes
next thing we do because we align with the project that's going on.
Yeah.
So we do coaching as it relates to the project, and then we start things out with communications, marketing, creating content, and things like that for them if they don't have the capabilities for them. For example, one of the key things that you even touched on earlier, you have to be aware change is going on.
Right.
So
Right.
we have to have awareness communication. We have to create desire for the change. We have to create knowledge and abilities related to the change. And then
Right.
after we do that, we have to do continuous improvement. We don't want after the project is over, people say, I just go back to doing what I was doing before. No,
Right.
it shouldn't be that way because what did we say earlier? It's about changing the culture. So this just becomes the normal. The change becomes the normal.
Right.
Let me give you an example that I like using sometimes, Tony, because we have these things that help out, which again, I summarize it. So we have the pre-work, which is really understanding the customer and the problems and the challenges so we can address those instead of just going in and saying, yeah, do it this way. We really want to make sure we're addressing them based on their maturity levels, what they think, what's
Yeah.
worked in the past, and everything else. Then we do a workshop to give them a foundation, the why behind it and everything else and how we're going to approach it. Then we go through coaching. So as we go through coaching, that's every week aligned with the project until the end of the project and so forth. And then if they don't have certain capabilities in the organization, maybe they don't have a communications person or a marketing person or somebody to help with training and stuff like that. We do staff augmentation for those roles and actually create things for them so they're not in the dark. This is what one customer told me. Anthony, I don't have time to do all this. I'm
Mhm.
busy, changing the tire while the plane is rolling. And just
That's
like
right.
you were saying earlier, I got these crit sits and everything else, and I'm trying to get this other project in. So how am I going to get this done?
That's
And
right.
what was the value that we talked about earlier? If you don't address the people side, is this project going to be as successful as he wants? No, but now if he brings in a supplier like us to address the people side and the OCM challenges he had, the success rate is going to go way up. And the industry says if you apply this, you can have 7 times the success rate. And remember what we talk about project success. It's
Yeah.
not just the end of the project and we say, oh, well, we did it, but it's not working. People are
That's right.
not doing it. They
That's
don't
right.
understand what to do with it, or they keep doing what they did before, even though we bought new technology and they're using it the same way without the value statements that we're trying to get from the new technology and so forth. So what happens? Your return on investment is not right. Your total cost of ownership is really higher,
Right.
and something called BOI, your value of investment, you
Mhm.
just
Right.
didn't do the right things. And Tony, as we go through our conferences like ACI and Service Management World,
Yeah.
we hear these stories
Right.
all the time. And I hear the success stories when people apply a little of the human aspect to their projects,
Yeah.
which becomes just amazing at the end of the day. And I love talking about the most valuable asset that organizations have, which is their people. Even with the emergence of AI
Yeah.
is a helpmate, you
Yeah.
know.
That's right.
Okay, so we could talk about that in another podcast,
That's
but
right. That's
we
right.
have we have to
Amen.
understand that too. It's a helpmate to improve performance, just like all technology. The goal is to improve performance for service or product value.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right. That's
I'll
wonderful.
stop talking again.
Oh, you're doing
I keep
great.
going.
No, you're doing great, and you're hitting on all these key elements.